you, RAYNET-UK RAYNET. This is Golf 4 November Romeo Charlie, operated today by Greg, Golf 0 Delta Uniform Bravo, serving step control for the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net. This meets each Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time and is open to all amateur radio operators interested in emergency communications. The primary purpose of this net is to provide the opportunity for members to test equipment, exchange traffic news, opinions and information, with additional information and announcements available on the RAYNET-UK website at www.raynet-uk.net. This is a directed net, which means all calls are to be made to the net control station unless you are instructed otherwise, and all RAYNET-UK operators are invited and encouraged to check into the net. When you do check in, please announce your call sign slowly and phonetically, followed by your name, and if you wish to leave the net immediately after checking in, then please call in and out. Otherwise, if you want to leave after subsequent turns, then please make it clear you want to leave at that time. After I've heard a few check-ins, I'll pause and repeat what I've heard. If you're not acknowledged, then please do try again, and I will call for strays at the end of the UK and international sections. So, as usual, I'll begin taking check-ins to the net in call sign number order, starting with any stations with figure 8 in their call wishing to check in. Please call now. This is G4 NRC.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee G8 EEY. Name is Mike.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee. Good afternoon, Mike. Any other 8s, please? G4 NRC, over. NRC, nothing heard. Let's have 7. Stations figure 7 in their call sign. Please go ahead. G4 NRC, over.
G798, Golf 7 November Echo Hotel, Graham.
G7NEH, good afternoon, Graham. Any other 7s, please? G4 NRC, over. Think heard, so let's have 6s. Stations figure 6 and their call sign. Please go ahead. G4 NRC, over.
Good afternoon, Golf 6, Papa Delta Echo, Chris in Ipswich. In and out, please, Greg.
Golf 6, Papa Delta Echo. Good afternoon, Chris. Copy to you. In and out. Any other 6s, please? G4 NRC, over. For NRC, nothing heard. Let's have 5. Stations figure 5 in their call sign. Please go ahead, over. G4 NRC, we still don't have many 5s issued out in the organisation. Let's go straight to 4s. Stations figure 4 in their call sign. Please go ahead, over.
G4 NRC, Golf 4 Kilo Uniform Juliet, Trevor in Watford.
Golf 4, Hotel Uniform Foxtrot, G4H, USL.
G4 NRC, so I've got Trevor, Golf 4 Kilo Uniform Juliet, and Phil, Golf 4 Hotel Uniform Foxtrot. Any other 4s, please? G4 NRC, over.
G4 AKIL, Philip, South Sussex.
G4NRC, good afternoon, Philip. Golf 4 Kilo India Lima. Okay, let's go for 3. Stations figure 3 in there. Call sign, please go ahead, over.
Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray. In and out this week, Greg. Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel. You're to a pointing call. No traffic's in and out this afternoon, Greg. G3 VEH.
G4NRC, so that's Ian, Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray, and Chris, Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel. Good afternoon to you both, and both companies in and out. Any other 3s, please? G4NRC, over. G4NRC, nothing heard, so let's have 2s. Stations figure 2 in their call sign, and that includes you intermediate 2s. Please call now, over. G4NRC, second call, any stations figure 2 in their call sign, please go ahead, over. G4NRC, nothing heard, so let's have 1s. Stations figure 1 in their call sign, please go ahead, over. And call any stations figure 1 in their call sign, please go ahead, over. G4NRC, then we're into the zeros, starting as usual with Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please call now, over.
Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, Drew Devon.
G4NRC, good afternoon, Drew. Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra. Any other Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, over? G4NRC, nothing heard, so Golf 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, over? G4NRC, I think my usual bookend is on an event today, but we'll try one more time. Any other Golf 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, over? G4NRC, then it's any UK station who's missed their turn to call in. Please call now, G4NRC, over. Nothing heard, so any international liaison stations, any of our overseas friends, usually Notsam Band of Norway, Aaron in Ireland, Aries in Slovakia, there's in the Netherlands, G4NRC. G4NRC, repeat that, might have had a bridge clash with Brandmeister. Any of our international liaison stations, Notsam Band of Norway, Aaron in Ireland, etc. Any of our international colleagues, please, G4NRC, over. G4NRC, okay, final call then before we start the net proper. Any UK or international stations waiting to join the RAYNET-UK nets? This is G4NRC, over. G4NRC, okay. So G4NRC and the RAYNET-UK net. Usual reminder, today's net is being live streamed by Graham, G7NEH to YouTube today. Past live streams and recordings are available by searching G7NEH, that's Golf 7 November Echo Hotel on YouTube, If you are watching live and got any commentary, please put it in the chat so Graham or somebody can pass it on to us. Over the last week, it has been announced that the DAB Plus broadcast system will get an emergency alerts functionality included in its specification. Similar to the mobile phone alerting system, it will allow alerts to be geographically targeted, but more interestingly, it will also wake up or switch on receivers from cold if an alert is sent. The statement is that the time the radio activates to check if an alert is actually present is very short, so minimising extra power consumption. Interesting to see if this is actually the case, given the normally high power consumption of DAB radio over analogue. Ofcom also announced a consultation on permitting direct satellite services in the normal mobile phone bands for 4G and 5G telephony. The intent is for calls to be routed via satellites in areas of no terrestrial service. The system would operate the same as Starlink and others, in that calls would have to come down to ground stations for calls to be placed on the mobile operator's own networks. How this would be sized for the number of concurrent calls remains to be seen, as this would have an impact on how useful the service may be in an emergency in more populated areas. On the energy networks, the gas network storage tanks in the mainland are refilling and are around 29% full, and the electricity networks aren't showing any significant loss of load probabilities for the coming few days. As mentioned last week, with British summertime starting today, I'll drop these statistics now until supply and demand becomes more significant again next winter. So, we have a slightly smaller than usual net. What thought from everybody this week? Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, G4 and RC, over.
G4 NRC from G8 EEY. Well, I wasn't sure whether it was people on events or whether people forgot to change their clocks. But anyway, sort of spring here at the moment, 16 centigrade, 1020 millibars pressure, 39% relative humidity, so it's fairly dry out there, and 16% cloud cover, so quite sunny as well. But the winds are getting up. They're 12.4 miles per hour from 324 degrees. But I have got currently, we've got 4 North Norfolk coast flood warnings and alerts coming up for later on this evening. And certainly the floodgates at Wells will be closed. So I've put out a warning to my members on that one. Otherwise, not too much happening. The delayed NRF meeting is now on the 9th of April, so it's not too longly delayed, but we'll see what happens. They're getting sparser, I'm afraid. And yes, we've just been hit with the banks changing their modes from free of charges to community accounts. Yeah, we'll have to think about that somehow. From G8 EEY.
Echo Yankee, G4 and RC returning. Okay, flood warnings jogged my memory a little bit. There was a high tide, bore tide, in my wonderful city of Chester yesterday, so the low pressure that was around, plus the way the tides were working anyway, had the water going backwards over the weir, which is always fun. Also seen in some of the Balkan countries, they were our colleagues over there were deployed to be spotters for floods on some of the rivers in the areas. So yes, the seasonal shift from being too cold to too wet is about to kick in. LRF meetings, well, at least you've had notification for Cheshire. The Red Cross organiser was copied in on an email, and we haven't actually had a response yet, so I'm not sure what's happening. And the first bank charges hit us as well last month, so there are still some free ones out there if you can put up with the paperwork of moving banks from one place to another for what the banks see as rather low volume accounts. Okay, thanks Mike. I'm sure there's more to pick on from that, but we'll go to Graham and see how many people we've got online. Golf 7 November Echo Hotel, G4 and RC, over.
NRC, G7NEH returning. Yeah, so last week we had a total of 43 views and 3 likes, which was quite good because we lost audio for the first part of the net. And I'll give you this week's viewing figures on the next round. So, not been in an awful lot radio-wise this week, but what I have done today is updated the firmware on the Anytone 878 UV2 Plus to the latest iteration, which is 3.06, and it has a, as you may have seen advertised, a satellite tracking feature, which I will be trying out in the next few weeks. I've downloaded all the satellite information and put it to the radio, so I'll be giving that a go. Right, not much else from me. Back to you, G4 NRC, G7NEH.
G7NEH, G4 NRC returning. Okay, those are good viewing figures, and sounds like the transition to OBS on Linux has been worked well this week. I had seen the shiny Anytone firmware with its satellite tracking feature on. I believe that's quite useful. I was reading on one of the social medias somebody bemoaning how few data satellites there were kicking around at the moment. He's more in mind of how easy would it be to get some 9600 baud data up and down, but see what you get. There's plenty of FM birds up there, Graham, to work with, so good luck with that one. Joins the long list of stuff I would like to get around to one day. Right, Trevor, G4KUJ, G4 NRC, over.
G4 NRC, G4KUJ, yes, good afternoon, Greg and everybody else. What have I been up to this week? The Arden system at this end seems to be pretty stable. On the AR300 node, it's now been up for about 10 days quite solidly, with 3 tunnels on, one to you, one to Drew, and another one to a local station who's been up now for a few days, so that's all looking good. The HAP light is up and working, and once I'm happy that it's fairly stable, I intend to make that the main node, I think, because it's got the advantages of more LAN ports for things like phones, and in particular the 5G Wi-Fi link, so that you can use sorry about that, phone, iPad or whatever for controlling it. And the only other thing is I ran up the QO100 system, which is working A-OK, both on speech and on FLDigi. Back to you from G4KUJ.
G4KUJ, G4 NRC returning. Yeah, everything has seemed stable. There does seem to be some more builds coming through of Arden firmware, or I'm seeing more commentary on it. One of them, which I wonder if what we've been bitten by, is having potential network loops. So if I look at my listing of your stations on my Arden node, there's 2 of you, one of them's greyed out. So I'm not sure whether that's a legacy or it's a link that's deemed to be a loop, so it's greyed out, because we do still have tunnels working between us in both directions. So we should probably turn one of them off and just have one tunnel to play and rule them all. And I'll come back to the QO100 stuff on the next round. So next it's Phil, G4HUF, with a memory jog of more for me than you, Phil, that I've got the dates for the Chester Marathon and Half Marathon now. We have been asked again, so I'll need to cast them around to see if anybody in the rest of Cheshire wants to play. G4HUF, G4 NRC, over.
This is Golf for Hotel Uniform Foxtrot G4HF. Right, okay, well that's that's obviously useful, and we shall do our best to muster our troops to assist if we can help. We will do, gladly. So not a problem in that direction. I've got to be honest with you that most of my activity and thoughts just recently have been concentrating on my excursion to Suffolk in a couple of months' time. I got my maps from the Ordnance Survey. Plus, I got a 15% discount because I bought more than 2 maps, and I also got a couple of free goodies as well. So they seem to be extremely generous at the moment. That'll be worth bearing in mind if anyone's thinking about getting fresh maps, updating their maps or whatever. Following up from last week, I had a call after the net. I think it was Ian's LHX who suggested I play with Street Map as far as swapping between What3 Words and National Grids. And I had a play during the week, and that worked beautifully. So if you're monitoring Ian, many thanks. What else have I been doing? Yes. I decided the sensible thing to do would be to organise my lifeboat battery in a box. So I've been looking at bits and pieces for that. And one thing that did occur to me is that I have a vague suspicion somewhere in the back of my grey cells that people tend to use a different colour power pole when they're providing a solar input into a battery. I've got this idea that, the norm is yellow. Now, whether it is a norm, an accepted standard or what, I don't know. So I'd appreciate comments on that aspect. But I've got a box on order, and I've also got an MPPT controller on order as well for that particular battery. So I should be well equipped when it comes to that trip across to Suffolk. I think that's about it for me. I've waffled well enough there. I mean, the stuff about Arden and Davils kind of is over my head at the moment, so I'm not worried about that. Forgive me for that. This is G4HUF.
G4 and RC returning. That's okay, we've got equal opportunities still, there's enough there to talk about. Yeah, mostly the different coloured power poles. There was something cast around, and Trevor may remember it because we were talking this one years ago, where somebody was using yellow and black for a different voltage rating. Personally, I've usually wound up with way too many black and red shells around, so I would probably, for my solar inputs, just rotate the power poles through 90 degrees, so rather than the tongs being at the bottom of the connector, they're on the sides. And then at least they still won't mate with each other, so you won't get things the wrong way round. But I don't know, there is an actually defined standard, but we'll see if anybody else comes up with anything. Streetmap.co.uk, glad you found that worked well. I like it. As far as I know, it is actually a UK service, so also worth supporting. Right, Philip, G4KIL, G4 and RC over.
G4 and RC, G4KIL, thanks very much for calling us in. Apologies for missing me the last few weeks. Been busy. And also missing, of course, our VHF net, because been busy there too. That should hopefully change now we're going into April, although I shall miss the first one, which is on Tuesday, 1st of April, because we have our local South Sussex RAYNET meeting, which is a face-to-face meeting in the Shoreham area. If anyone would like to join us, drop me an email or something, and I'm sure you'd be welcome to join us. anyone's around this way and would like to join. The rest of April, 17th, 14th, 21st, 28th are Mondays. 21st is the Bank Holiday Monday, I think, if I got it correct. Easter Bank Holiday Monday. So that will be presumably 2 o'clock. Should be no problem from my point of view. Should hopefully be up for the others as well. It'll be a kind of case of me coming in and having to exit between 20 and 25 past 8 because of our local FM net starting at 8:30. But it should be possible. Okay, I think that's it from me at the moment. So back to you, G4NRC, G4KIL.
G4NRC returning. Yes, I had to catch myself as I was updating calendars that the HFnet on the 21st of April, being an Easter Monday and a bank holiday, will indeed be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so we can get advantage of some joyous daytime propagation to play with. You have made me look at other events cropping up through the week, or through the coming weeks. Net of the 6th of April, I think I've got a basketball game. In fact, I'm fairly convinced I've got a basketball game, so we'll be on a constrained net on the 6th. And on the 13th, things may get messy because it's the Blackpool Rally, so I might be in 2 places at once again. But luckily, so far, no basketball for that one. So, yes, time zone changes that throw people off by an hour, plus a load of bank holidays. It's going to be interesting, and the good weather will only help. So, look forward to getting you back on the nets, Philip. And Drew, a question for you, Mike Sierra, Mike Foxtrot Sierra. Received wisdom used to be that Arden networking shouldn't gateway onto the internet. I thought that was enforced in some other firmwares, but I'm seeing that I can get the real internet via Glasgow. I'm wondering if that's deliberate or somebody needs a little reminder. Mike Sierra, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, M0MFS. I think it's not recommended, but it's not disallowed anymore. It was off by default, and I'm not sure if it's still off by default. I allow it on my primary gateway, just so that other Arden nodes my other Arden nodes can get out. I'm not 100% sure whether that is a public allow or not. Something I'll have to look at. Yeah, interesting one. I will make a note. On the other front, I've just received 2 Meshtastic health tags. I've been playing around with them for 2 or 3 days, and I can't decide what all the fuss is about. The health tags I've got don't have GPSs, so they don't know where they are, which kind of seems to make it a bit pointless. And I can't really see what all the fuss is about. Interested in anyone else's view. And then from a RAYNET perspective, we're trying to get an AGM in. We've got the Exmoor Challenge planning and radio sampling on the 8th of April, and our standard Goose Fair starting to be planned. But other than those 2 events, nothing significant on the horizons from M0MFS.
Foxtrot Sierra, G4NRC returning. Okay, I haven't got a clue which Meshtastic I got, but I only got one. Didn't want to talk to myself. So same as yours, doesn't have a GPS on board. It only knows where it is if it's connected to the phone, which is arguably not a huge problem. I think the ones without GPSs, though, are more amenable for sitting there to be repeaters or gateways or stuff. So it doesn't really matter about their position. It is, to my mind, APRS, but on a different mode. And a different mode, correct, Laura, and different frequency, as in 928 megahertz. There has been some good stuff done with Laura on 77s, where we get even further propagation. I think the main thing for it, Drew, is it's something the general public can play with without licensing, and that's why it's got the vibe about it, because it's semi-encrypted, or can be encrypted, and lets people talk to each other. So as a gateway drug into amateur radio, it works. And there are some RAYNET groups who are actively looking at how they can weave it into their systems. I need to get brave enough to try mine with a bigger antenna. I'm going to say bigger, not the stubby duck that came with the unit, but a little small whip on a mag mount. But the mag mount is one of those cheap ones that's no bigger than a 2p piece, so I'm not quite sure how it'll go on down the motorway at 70 miles an hour. But we'll see. One to keep talking about and discuss, but it's just another tool in the box. Right, let's go back to the top of the list. And Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, intrigued you weren't getting my email messages from what you said on the committee management mailing list, so I need to figure out how to test that. G8EY, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC from G8EY. Yes, both Eddie and I were the only people who commented, but when I looked at what was forwarded, although it said Committee of Management in the address section from you, it didn't seem to have a URL attached to it, and that was weird. But no great loss, because we did get it via the other route. But yeah, something to look into. Really managed to get anywhere with Arzen here. Not enough people around to sort of play with. So, yeah, something to look forward to sometime. Anyway, thanks for running the net, Greg, and look forward to seeing you, or hearing you, next week from G8DEY.
Echo Yankee, G4NRC returning. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean, but it didn't have a URL attached, but okay, I'll go back and look at what Kathy forwarded on. Just the joys of reliable email. Arden, well, that's generally why we're talking about the tunnelling and stuff, so that people who are figuring out fast that some of the Arden is not necessarily the propagation and getting the radio links set up, is figuring out how to program the thing and getting stuff working and getting services on there. So tunnels are a way of doing that, so that you can practice with nodes and stuff in your comfort of your own home, but can still link together into a wider community. It's just, and hence my question to Drew earlier, that there are some areas who want data networking and have picked up Arden, but absolutely don't want it connected to anything else because it's seen as an attack vector for any cyber nastiness. So what was a very much an amateur-only network, if it's got internet ports out to the public internet, then somebody might start querying, is it as clean as we thought it was? Hence me raising the question. Okay, thanks for that, Mike. 7-3 to you, and yeah, hopefully talk to you next week. Graham, we've just got a massive list of stuff we need to get to playing with, and you're getting ahead of your list faster than mine, courtesy of playing satellites. Anyway, any comments on the YouTube this week, Graham? G7NEH, G4 and RC, over.
G4NRC, G7NEH. Right, okay, so this week, as far as YouTube goes, nothing in the chat, and we've had 8 views in total, and there is currently 3 viewers. So yeah,
G798, G4NRC returning. Yeah, although I hate being dragged kicking and screaming into another time zone, the lighter nights will help for doing some stuff. Does also mean that some of the UTC nets that Trevor and I are still doing across to Germany will slip back by an hour in real time, so it's not quite such a drag on the evening. But yes, it is a slow net today, but seeing the blue sky out of the windows is no huge surprise. So 73's Graham, thanks for doing the YouTube links, and Trevor G4KUJ, I'm just wondering, when I go through the big box of mischief here, what should I be plugging onto the Arden mode next or first? More worthwhile putting a phone on or seeing if we can get a camera connected? G4KUJ, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, G4KUJ. Okay. Picking up first on the two tunnels we've got running between each other. I noticed also that one of them gets greyed out. But both of them do actually work. They're both connected, and if you click on the greyed one, it connects and then goes black. So yes, I think we either ought to turn one off or change the weighting even on one of them so that we've got a priority. As far as services, my vote would be a telephone. I think phone asterisk exchange or something like that. Because although I've got or both you and I have got the IP dial phones, which work between you and I, and we've proved that. The exchange, I think, would be the most useful thing. Would be my view. And you did mention QO100 as well, Greg, unless you meant on G4NRC, G4KUJ.
G4NRC delivered my own network. Yeah, I know I mentioned QO100 and realised as soon as I'd let go of the PTT. It was more about how do we get some activity stirred up for Region 1 IARU, but it's been the usual slow start to the year for exercises and events, and I'm actually thinking, given there's the interim conference at the end of April, trying to organise anything other than a teleconference this coming month could be challenging. Because it didn't get exercised much last year, and we could do with making that difference. Changing the weighting, yes, I'd probably say we'll keep the legacy tunnel as the priority and weight the other one down to make the Wireshark a fallback. And asterisk exchange just takes me down a different rabbit hole. That's the numbering scheme we have for the DMR talk groups, with RAYNET talk groups beginning 50, was with the total idea that we could have a numbering scheme with either 51 or 52 as the prefix for each group having their own exchanges and extension numbers. So it's that common numbering, but it's gone a bit feral again, so how we'll get that dragged into one place, I'm not quite sure. For getting a coherent phone system across RAYNET, and it really doesn't feel right to make it look like real phone numbers, because that feels like it should get Ofcom interested or cause confusion. So, okay, I'll change the weighting on the Arden tunnels later to prefer the legacy, and we'll see what happens. Okay, thanks, Trevor. Phil, the other comment I didn't mention to you is your Bollywood bike ride. Noting that one of those event days is a Friday, so I'm guessing if I take a Friday off work with the idea of wombling over to watch cyclists, it wouldn't go down badly. G4, but the question is, are the access points accessible by varying types of vehicles, or is it 4x4 for everything? Because that could be a problem. G4HUF, G4 and RC, over.
This is G4HUF, right, okay. Well, as far as the Bully Skyline Enduro is concerned, they're not all exclusively 4x4, although one or two of the locations were specified to be 4x4. So from that point of view, it shouldn't be an issue. And needless to say, if you're talking about coming across on the Friday, having taken a day off work, by default you'll get your hand snatched off. So please do. I shall be delighted in that regard, because we've even got one gentleman who has volunteered to come across from Leicester, taking a day off work for that event. I think it's linked in through the Derbyshire Dales group, who, as you can appreciate, with OJA's involvement with them is not surprising under those circumstances. So, yeah, you would be more than welcome to join the Friday crew in that respect, and in return we shall look forward to getting an email off you in the not too distant future with the details of the Chester Marathon and Half Marathon, so we can circulate them and try and encourage some of our troops to get involved and help you there. Nothing else intelligent to add at the moment. So interesting your comment on the power poles, turning them through 90 degrees, and I was thinking, you can't turn the blades through 90 degrees inside the power poles, but then the penny dropped and I realised that you were talking about the whole assembly. The polarisation, well, for want of a better word, the polarisation or the connection between the red and black bodies, doing it that way. So that was interesting, and something to consider. I'm not 100% certain about the yellow colour, but I have seen examples. It's probably more an American thing than something that's been considered in the UK, and that's where I picked it up from, with looking at too many YouTube videos. Anyway, on that note, I'm starting to waffle, so I shall shut up. Thanks for running the net, and we'll look forward to talking to everybody next week. This is G4HUF.
HUF, G4 and RC returning. Okay, yeah, I know yellow was one of the colours that was cast around, but I am looking at so many Chinese knockoff power pole shells in front of me. Just left sad and lonely. So having another colour would be the last thing on my mind at the moment. I need to put a proper radio spares order in, because that seems to be the only place where I can buy the blades without needing to buy the whole things as a kit. Amazon is not always your friend, because it insists on selling you everything. Okay, Phil, I shall double check the dates and put the offending request into work and see what I get back and confirm stuff to you when it's all sorted. Right, next one is Philip for a final, and I'm also not sure if I'll be on the 1st or not, or whether I'm looking, Junior Up is in the room. Am I doing anything on the 1st? Yes, I'm doing, so I won't be on the HF, that's on the 1st, Philip. It'll be another one I miss. G4 KIL, G4 NRC after advice from M6 RBM, over.
From G4 KIL, well, like I say, I think I said I wouldn't be on the 1st because that's our local face-to-face meeting, so I won't be able to do that. That would clash. Final comments, I think, from me. There was discussions about community bank accounts and fees and things. And I won't name any names of suppliers or such things on the net, but I think our local RAYNET group, I believe, has one which I don't think is charging. It seems to be working all right, but I'm not clear at the moment whether it actually can have more than operate with multiple sort of authorizations on payments out, which may be an issue for some. There is another group I'm a member of, which perhaps I'm the treasurer of. We do have a free bank, community bank account through one of the largest local banks. And all my only comment will be, I think they might be trying to dissuade people from doing it by giving such very bad service. But I can't name them specifically. But all I'm saying, I suppose, is if you get a free one, be wary, because they may not actually be very keen to provide much service. And that particular group may be even considering changing because it's getting so bad. Right, that's enough of that one. And look forward to hopefully speaking to you all again next week. And leave it at that. G4 NRC G4K out.
G4KIL, G4NRC. There we go. Took a couple of goes to get the Brandmeister bridge going on that one. Yes, I was wondering why you were withholding names until it got to the service. So far, so good. Well, we swapped to Lloyds, who gave them multiple authorizations, but then made all the accounts paid for from this month, which was a small nuisance. There are still some out there. There is a relatively easy Google search to a page which will give you who's currently supporting communities. But some of the banks involved, I'm just thinking Metro is one of them. Just places I've got to go to Liverpool or Manchester if I need to go and see them. So it's just a pain to go and set something up. However, it is a challenge for all groups, and unfortunately, UK banking isn't set up the same way as a large American organisation I'm a part of, where they have what they call concentration banking, where all the group's bank accounts are actually part of the main national organisations, just in separate designated pots. So they get the benefit of having all the money and being seen as a good customer, even though the individual local groups are quite small in comparison. But doesn't exist over here from what I can see. Okay, thanks, Philip. Yes, I did note that you were going to miss the HFNS at the first. It was just me saying out loud for anybody online and otherwise that I won't be there either. Right, rounding off the net this week then, it's back to Drew. And yeah, I don't think I have anything hanging on yours, Drew. Mike Zero, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, M0MFS. No, then that's just prompted me because banking was one of the things I was going to mention. I know a group that I'm a member of, with Lloyds, and they've just been told that they're going to get charges. And we're with NatWest. We have a community account with NatWest. They have community apps and can manage 2 to 4 signatories with no charge. I've managed to change signatories, add additional signatories, all via the internet without actually having to fill in a form or anything. All I had to do was upload copies of the minutes of the committee meeting stating what the changes that we wanted to make. I had to take a signatory off who's incapacitated due to ill health, and ended up with only 1 signatory on an account that needed a minimum of 2, and they managed that electronically, and seems to be working extremely well at the moment. So that would be at the moment well worth looking at if you need to move from Lloyds. Thanks for running the net, Greg, and catch you all next week from M0MFS.
Hello, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, G4NRC returning. Yeah, as the flight statement says, your mileage may vary. What we found when we were looking around, and the reason we dropped on Lloyds was NatWest needed one of the committee members to be a member of, or a user of NatWest themselves first, and that was a bit of a hurdle to jump over to get in. So it's not cheap providing banking, so the bankers say, and all voluntary groups are suffering similar issues. As long as you don't go back to having tins of money kept under somebody's mattress, that'll be the thing. But it is a topic that comes up frequently on the Facebook group and through to com. Just nothing easy we can say is here's a way out. Anyway, okay, nice relaxed net since we only have 9 of us checked in today. But thanks everybody for taking time out to participate this afternoon. Be careful, have a good week, and I'll close the net until next Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time on talk groups 23531 Pheonix and Brandmeister as the RAYNET designated groups there, and 50 23531 on the RAYNET UK system. And I'll close the RAYNET UK weekly activity net now and return those talk groups to being an open net rather than a directed net. 730, this is G4NRC now closing and reverting to my normal call sign of Golf Zero Delta Uniform Bravo. Bye bye.